Did you know that Solomon, one of the wealthiest and wisest men in history, left behind financial principles that can transform your finances today? In a world where wrong decisions can jeopardize the future, how can you ensure you're making financial choices that truly generate stability and lasting growth? In this video, we'll explore how to apply Solomon's financial wisdom to make strategic decisions that directly impact your financial life, whether in investments, business, or personal. Resource management. If you're looking for ways to manage your finances more prudently, or if you want to understand how biblical principles can guide you to solid prosperity, this video is for you. We will address not only Solomon's teachings, but also how to adapt them to today's financial landscape, ensuring your decisions bring lasting results and a stable financial foundation for the future. Stay with us until the end and discover how to practically apply these principles in your life. Have you ever stopped to think about why Solomon, among all the biblical characters, became the greatest symbol of wisdom and wealth at the same time? Unlike figures who accumulated fortune through war, inheritance, or predatory strategies, Solomon's prosperity came from a completely different place: wisdom. When God gave him the chance to ask for anything, Solomon did not choose power, victory over enemies, or a long life. He asked for understanding. And it was this very request that triggered a chain of lasting prosperity, built on principles that remain valid today. But what does this have to do with you? If you're at a point in life where financial decisions have become more serious, whether because of family, a business of your own, investments, or the desire to build a solid future, then you are at the same starting point Solomon was. The difference is that, unlike him, you don't have to start from scratch. You already have access to the legacy of his wisdom, and that is exactly what this video will deliver: how to think strategically, act with caution, and plant wisely to reap with consistency. Studying Solomon is not an exercise in biblical curiosity. It is a practical journey in financial education with timeless principles. We are not talking about magic formulas or spiritualizing money. We are talking about principles tested by time, anchored in prudence, knowledge, and intelligent action. Throughout this video, you will learn how to make safer decisions, build stability, and grow consistently. And it all starts here: understanding why Solomon not only became wealthy, but has remained relevant to this day as the ultimate example of economic wisdom. When we talk about financial wisdom in light of the Bible, few names carry as much weight as Solomon's. His journey reveals that wealth, when built on solid foundations, ceases to be an unstable goal and becomes a predictable result. But what are these foundations? What pillars sustained the wealth of a king who, even millennia later, is still cited as the wisest and most prosperous man who ever lived? In this chapter, we will explore three central principles that guided his economic decisions: discernment, diligence, and diversification. The first pillar is discernment. Solomon did not make impulsive decisions. Every choice. In the book of Proverbs, he teaches that the plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Proverbs 21 verse 5. This type of wisdom is indispensable for anyone who invests, runs a business, or manages a household budget. Discernment means knowing what to prioritize, when to step back, and when to move forward. It is the foundation of responsible financial management. To apply this practically, the first step is to develop the habit of analyzing. Before buying, before signing, before accepting an offer. Discernment eliminates decisions based on emotion and strengthens choices based on principles. The second pillar is diligence. Contrary to what many may imagine, Solomon's wisdom was not passive. It was accompanied by an exemplary work ethic. He supervised large projects, managed teams, and handled political and commercial alliances. In Proverbs 10 verse 4, he writes, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." Diligence here is not just physical effort, but consistency, responsibility, and excellence in everything you do. In practical terms, this translates into organizing finances, maintaining regular investments, controlling expenses, and continuously improving professional skills. The third pillar is diversification. Solomon built his wealth not only with gold and silver, but through international trade routes, strategic tributes, and commercial partnerships with other kingdoms. He diversified not only income sources but also alliances and supply channels. In Ecclesiastes 11 verse 2, he advises, "Give portions to 7, yes to 8, for you do not know what disaster may come upon the land." This is one of the first mentions of diversification as protection against risks, a fundamental concept for the modern investor. It includes not relying on a single source of income, spreading investments across different assets, and thinking strategically about the future, including retirement and emergency savings, discernment, diligence, and diversification. These are the three pillars upon which Solomon built not only wealth but stability, influence, and legacy. And the good news is that these principles are applicable, measurable, and above all, replicable. Anyone who wants to make wiser decisions in their financial life can start here. The secret lies less in how much you earn, and more in how you decide. And when you decide with wisdom, growth stops being a chance occurrence and becomes a consequence. Solomon not only accumulated wealth, he taught how to manage it with excellence. His Proverbs reveal a spiritual and practical roadmap for anyone who wants to manage their resources well. And this roadmap starts with self-knowledge. In Proverbs 27 verse 23, he says, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks, give careful attention to your herds." In modern terms, this means know your finances in detail, know how much comes in, how much goes out, and where every penny is going. Financial wisdom starts with clarity. You cannot manage what you don't know. The second step is strategic organization. Solomon spoke about planning before building, preparing the field before starting a project. This brings us to the importance of budgeting. A budget should not be a rigid list of restrictions, but rather a living, adjustable plan that reflects your values and priorities. When you structure your spending based on principles, rather than impulses, you avoid unnecessary debt and begin directing your money toward growth. Finally, Solomon's wisdom teaches us the value of saving and anticipation. In Proverbs 21 verse 20, he says, "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. Saving is just as important as earning." Creating an emergency fund, investing prudently, and avoiding impulsive spending are biblical and intelligent practices. Therefore, good financial management does not require complex formulas, but it does require discipline, vision, and fidelity to eternal principles. For Solomon, investing was not just about multiplying wealth, but about building something lasting based on prudence. One of the most notable pieces of advice is found in Ecclesiastes 11 verse 2. "Give portions to 7, yes to 8, for you do not know what disaster may come upon the land." This is a classic principle of diversification. In modern terms, Solomon is telling us, do not put all your resources in one place. Diversifying investments is protection against unforeseen events and market fluctuations. And it is also an expression of intelligence applied to risk management. Another crucial point that Proverbs teaches us is the value of time and patience in financial returns. In Proverbs 13 verse 11 it says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." This directly confronts the mentality of quick profits. Solomon teaches us that sustainable growth comes from consistent, prudent investments with a focus on the long term. The true wise person does not seek shortcuts. They build with solidity, stone upon stone. Additionally, the Bible emphasizes knowledge as a valuable asset. In Proverbs 24, verses 3 and 4, we read, "By wisdom a house is built, and through understanding it is established. Through knowledge its rooms are filled with rare and beautiful treasures." Before investing, study. Before applying your money, understand the fundamentals of the business. Faith does not replace analysis, and spirituality does not exclude technical preparation. Solomon teaches us that the combination of spiritual vision and financial strategy is the key to investments that thrive. Economic stability is not built with luck, but with principles, and Solomon offers us just that: solid foundations for a resilient financial life, even in times of crisis. In Proverbs 21, verse 5, he declares, "The plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but the hasty come to poverty." Here we learn that haste and impulsivity are enemies of stability. Making financial decisions hastily, without calculation or analysis, is a sure path to imbalance. Stability, on the other hand, comes from structured decisions aligned with clear goals and a long-term vision. Another powerful principle comes from valuing diligent work. In Proverbs 12, verse 24, we read, "The hand of the diligent will rule, but the lazy will be put to forced labor." Solomon associates stable growth with consistency and excellence in what is done. This teaches us that prosperity is not just the result of good ideas, but the discipline to execute them with excellence. Biblical wisdom calls us to cultivate healthy financial habits, such as planning expenses, consistency in work, and maintaining reserves. Finally, economic stability involves a posture of humility and prudence. Proverbs 22, verse 3 says, "The prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." Solomon teaches that foreseeing risks and preparing for them is part of financial wisdom. Having proper insurance, avoiding unnecessary debt, and maintaining emergency reserves. All of these are part of the mindset of a wise manager. In other words, stability is not the absence of problems, but the presence of strategies that withstand storms. If Solomon were among us today, what would he say to a modern entrepreneur surrounded by algorithms, digital competition, and volatile markets? The first thing he would highlight is, before you build, seek wisdom. In Proverbs 24, verse 27, he advises, "Prepare your work outside, get everything ready for yourself in the field, and after that build your house." In other words, before expanding or scaling a business, ensure that the foundation is solid, that there is planning, market research, understanding of the customer, and mastery of the product. Solomon would also warn against entrepreneurial pride. In Proverbs 16, verse 18, he states, "Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall." The message is clear. Success cannot be built on vanity, but on service, ethics, and constant learning. The wise entrepreneur does not presume to know everything, but surrounds themselves with advice and remains teachable. Moreover, he would emphasize the power of integrity in business. Proverbs 11, verse 3 says, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity." In times when shortcuts seem tempting, Solomon would point to the path of transparency, honesty, and reputation, as assets more valuable than any working capital. For him, the true entrepreneur is one who prospers with justice and leaves behind a trustworthy legacy. Despite being recognized as the wisest man of his generation, Solomon also made grave mistakes, and it is precisely this that makes his story even more relevant to us. One of Solomon's main mistakes was trusting more in his political alliances and personal achievements than in his covenant with God. In 1 Kings chapter 11, we see that his many foreign wives led him astray spiritually, driving him to idolatry. This teaches us that technical wisdom without spiritual integrity leads to collapse. He knew what was right, but chose to ignore it. The result? The kingdom was divided after his death, and his legacy lost its stability. Another mistake was the excessive accumulation of wealth and power without balance. Despite his guidance on prudence and contentment, Solomon was seduced by luxury. This alerts us that even successful entrepreneurs and investors risk being destroyed by their own prosperity if they lose focus on eternal principles. The Bible does not condemn wealth, but it condemns the arrogance that wealth can generate when the heart strays from the source of wisdom. Therefore, Solomon's decline is not just a warning, it is a mirror. Even the most capable can fail if they are not vigilant. True wisdom is not just in building, but in staying faithful to the purpose and being watchful until the end of the journey. Solomon left us more than Proverbs. He left us a map, a roadmap of wisdom that spans personal finance, investment decisions, leadership, and even the dangers of poorly managed success. If you want to accumulate wealth with stability, you need more than techniques. You need wisdom. And it begins with the fear of the Lord. Apply these principles today. Review your financial management, reassess your business decisions, and choose to grow with purpose. Like, share, and subscribe. And remember, applied wisdom is wealth built. The next step is yours.